Hey everyone, and welcome back to F4 Obsessed, a deep dive, a weekly show where we discuss F4 Thailand from a symbolic and meta perspective. I'm Ty, your co-host, and my co-host is Marie Claire, who I refer to as MC.
Hello, everyone. Nice
Hello.
to be back. Thank you for coming back.
Yes.
And those who are new,
welcome. We are Hana Yori Dango fans. For those that don't know, we've watched between the two of us, we've seen every version, and we just really, truly adore this story. If you have not already, please check out the two previous episodes of ours where we covered our overall thoughts about the story, and then also last week's episode where we covered the first episode of the show. We had a lot of fun. They're about, I think we're trying to keep this to around like an hour each. Also, you can watch on YouTube where we have visuals and we kind of go through the episode with GIFs and sometimes we clip things from other versions. So that's really good if you're interested in visual stuff. But you can also listen on the What the Fiction podcast if you're just interested in listening, or if you just want to take it with you and you don't like using the YouTube app. So few different ways to listen and or watch. All right.
And make sure to like and subscribe this video because you want to make sure to catch up with all of these as they come out.
Yes. I think this is going to be on a playlist. So definitely like and subscribe. This is all I'm doing for the next 15 weeks or so. So that'll be fun. Yeah. So let's get into some feedback we've gotten from the last couple of episodes that we did last week. Please remember to comment on the videos if you want to be a part of the conversation. We pretty much respond to every comment, and it's really, really fun because it feels like we're watching the show with a bunch of friends, a bunch of fans, and it's very cool. Like we're kind of building this little community, which is awesome. Okay. So JLMZ said, basically I clipped some of these, so this might not be your full comment and I apologize for that, but just to grab certain things that we wanted to chat about, that the anonymous comments stuff in that first episode really hits home for some of the lead actors, which is something I wanted to make sure we address because, I mean, obviously online bullying is really serious, and the fact that we know that these young actors, they're still very young. Like JL also pointed out that 2 is only 21 and has also gotten a lot of hate, which of course she will be because she's, a young actress. I mean, that's normal, but it's really important to call that out and to say like, this is an important storyline for the actors.
Yeah.
So thank you, JL, for your comment. And then Yorozua Mei-chan, apologies if I butchered that. Let us know the mystery that we could not figure out.
The dipping sauce that we didn't know what it was.
Yeah. We were so confused trying to like work our minds around what it could be because they kept saying it was sweet. It's actually,
and it is. I mean, if it is condensed milk, which is what they let us know it was.
Yeah. And then the stuff they dip it in is Chinese fried dough, which totally makes sense. So thank you.
It sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious. I was thinking that as well. And then Marie said that the flower shop name translation that they work at is actually called Meteor Garden. So that was very clever.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And then Larry said, let us know that the flower nicknames were actually already released a while back. And it took me forever to find that clip, by the way. I found it on Instagram eventually. It was like a teaser. So I was like trying to take that apart and trying to figure out exactly which color each flower was and all of that. And I have a whole slide dedicated to the flowers. And obviously this week we found out it's in the opening. So that was pretty cool. And then Larry also said that they like Rin's character a lot, which that's what I said as well in this version, because it shows that he actually cares versus the other versions where he helps the female lead out of boredom. And Larry also said that they like how MJ called out Thyme on his ways, which is a first. And as we saw in this week's version, they kind of play on that a little more. So
yeah, F4 in general is more vocal, I think, than any of the versions, right? They kind of just go along with the main leads,
yeah,
the ways of being. They might have like eyes, like they give each other like side eyes when he's being particularly bad, but in this version they're actually very vocal, all
they're
of them,
very,
in different
yeah,
ways. Like as an example, Cavan is he is maybe more on Thyme's side versus MJ and Ren, which is it creates kind of an interesting dynamic amongst all of them.
yeah, it does. I really liked what they did with this one, and I have some fun little theories about that as well going forward. Yeah, so the flowers,
Yeah.
flowers, yeah,
Flower symbolism.
flower symbolism. It's so exciting. Like when the commenters pointed that out, I was like, oh, wait, really? Like this is exciting. I can really dig into some like fun symbolism. And it was fun. It was hard to find the symbolism for these flowers from like,
I think it's important to point out that flowers are specifically a language
Mhm.
that it has been used in Southeast Asia, but also across Europe for many, many years. And sort of the intention of giving somebody a particular type of flower, especially in like the Victorian age, was to express something that you couldn't express in words, either because of societal restriction or it's just not appropriate for you to actually say you love them, or to say, hey, I just want to be friends. But that's what flowers are used for across many, 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 many societies. And so the fact that these flower 4 or
Mhm.
F4 have flowers associated with them is really, really cool.
Yeah, it is. And you can tell that they were very intentional about which flowers represented which character. And it was hard for me to find meanings for these flowers from a specifically Southeast Asian or even Thai context, because the meanings do change a little bit depending on whether you're looking at it from like France. Like the
Yeah.
iris in France is very different in terms of what it means. Um, so that took a little bit of work, but it was exciting to do it. So Cavan is a hydrangea, and in the kind of opening credits and stuff, anytime the hydrangea appears, it's typically like blue or pink. So I kind of went with those meanings. And from that, it is means perseverance, abundance, because of all of the however many flowers there are in like a bundle. It means like
Right.
abundance, and sincerity, and also heartlessness. That was like another side of it,
Wow.
right? Yeah. So I think also frigidity was another word to say for that, heartlessness.
Yeah.
So there are a few meanings there that probably apply to his character, and they also probably apply to kind of where he is now and then where he's going to be like through the course
Yeah.
of the show. um, and then the white cutter, or I think another name for it is white aster, is one of the more common symbols, is or one of the more common things it means is like charm. It's a very charming flower.
Mm.
But I found a Thai like flower nursery, like a flower farm on Facebook, and they actually had white cutter, and they had like a like what the meaning was.
Wow,
Um
you went deep,
I
Ty.
went deep. I tried to find it for the other ones, but white cutter I found. I was really happy about that because it's Ren.
Even if you
And
don't look at me, it's okay, because after all, I'll always have you. Wow.
right. Like that's very specific, and it's
On
perfect for this
brand.
character. Yeah, it's so on brand. So that was an exciting Thai find. I was happy. Oh, Thai, Thai, and Thai, me, Ty find. So yeah, that was cool. And then MJ is the iris. And in this context, and for kind of the Asian read on it, it means wisdom, friendship, bravery, optimism, and clarity. I liked
Calls
clarity.
it like it is.
Calls it like it is. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot for him. And then
And also just hot. I mean,
and
no, that's just someday. Sorry.
yeah, it's beautiful flower, just like
Yeah.
for a beautiful man. So Thyme.
Aha. Thyme and his black rose. When we talked about the black rose, we were like, is it a black rose? And then Ren is like the red rose. No, 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 no. He is the rose.
He is
This
the
is important.
rose. This is so exciting because I didn't know until I looked it up that black roses are not just associated with these negatives like death and black magic and all of that, right? They're also associated with change and rebirth and renewal.
Yes.
And on top of that, like you can look at it like the black magic part. You could also look at from the perspective of him being under a curse, which is something you called
out. Prince under a curse. But also black rose used in literature as a symbol typically is a signal to foreshadow character change.
Yes. Yes, it is
and
kind of the beginning of something.
Whew.
Yeah. It's very exciting. So
yeah, it is.
So yeah, that's Thyme.
We're in love with this and we're excited to see if he actually maybe even changes his nickname through the show. That would be really cool.
Oh, that would be cool. I didn't think about that. Interesting.
Yeah. Like he becomes a lover instead of a sort of this cursed prince and decides to specifically change his like online persona.
Yeah, to just like Rose or something.
Yeah, or like Red Rose or something. Yeah.
Me likey.
That's like changing your hair in a show.
Yeah, I like that. So just a little bit of fun.
This is so fun.
Yeah, little fun Hana Yori Dango lore. I wanted to do this because I think the history of this story is really cool. And when I was reading the manga, I was kind of rereading it because we're watching the show and going along with some of the other versions as we watch the show. And one of the little notes that Camino, the author, put into the manga was where she was getting Doumyouji's appearance from, like what was the inspiration for him. And she said that it started with Christian Slater. And at the time, like Christian Slater, like he just come out with this movie, Pump Up the Volume. And he's like this like bad boy radio host guy. So that's what he looked like, during this time where the manga was released. But then she said eventually he kind of turned more into Prince.
Yes.
And you can see that. I mean, you can clearly see that. She also said like she had seen,
and also like his style, especially in all the versions, has become more and more like Prince.
Yeah.
Like the big coats and like the it's almost flamboyant in a way.
It is.
I have to say, like my older cousins were totally into Christian Slater. Like that's the generation, like 5-10 years older than me, love Christian Slater, like would watch the one Star Trek movie because he has a 5-second cameo. Like that, he had an impact. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he was a big deal. He was like a heartthrob back then.
Yeah. And yeah, his face does make him look like a cat. That's so cool. Yes. I love all of her notes. Like,
yeah. She's
and that is one thing about reading the manga is that like the author herself talks about her process while the manga is coming out. And so you get like these little like author notes. It's enjoyable and fun and gives you a lot of inspiration and understanding of where her brain was at when she was coming up with stuff.
Exactly. And that's a part of the history of the story, and that's a part of the lore, like I've said, of the story. So hopefully we'll keep doing little things like this, and it's just. I think
really
when
we dig into the style, we'll talk through a little bit more, like the style of the characters, because they're on brand with the other versions of the story, and that I think traces its roots to, the original. The
absolutely, yeah, totally. Cool. So. Oh yeah, I wanted to cover this quickly. So
I think you're right. I think it's basketball.
I think it is.
What sport does Gorya play?
That's
the question, right? Because both of us were like, well, she's there on a scholarship. What does she play?
She explicitly said it was an academic scholarship, so she
Yeah.
plays a sport, but they haven't explicitly said what sport it is. And Marie Claire had caught a badminton.
But I think that's her brother's bed she was sitting on.
Oh.
Yeah, because this is her bed, right?
Mhm.
In this picture of her. And you found it. There's a basketball next to her bed.
Yep. There's basketball and then there's
Tons of pictures of basketballs and other things. So she's a basketball player.
And my biggest excitement with this is that she is gonna play basketball with Thyme at some point, and she's gonna whoop his butt.
Like, they've already shown Thyme playing basketball in the show.
Exactly. Yeah, I have
because he's cool and he's good at what he does, but I hope she's better.
I hope so too. That is my I am so excited. I don't even care maybe if neither of them win a match or something against each other. It would just be cute to just watch them play, and fun cute stuff could happen because of that.
And she's into like North American like NBA basketball too, because that like you have a screenshot of her wearing a Lakers jersey.
Yeah.
So she's really into it.
Exactly.
Not she's just really like I'm good at it. She's also into like the fandom around basketball, which is cool.
It is cool. It does a lot for her character, because it's similar to how the Boys Over Flowers version gave her swimming.
Yeah.
So I hope they don't do the same stuff with this one, but I like that because it gives her more than just being there and being like an every
you mean where she broke her shoulder and then could never swim again, which was her only joy? So I have words for that writer.
That was it's too much. But hopefully Gorya won't do something to her knee or something like that and never be able to play ever again. That would just be terrible. But I doubt they'll do that. It's really just exciting that she has a sport. It's awesome. So, okay. So let's get into the second episode finally. I know I had a different image here, but you messaged me and you're like, can you use the very first image kind of to start it off? So I put that here.
Okay.
And it is very cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. So this is the scene where it starts out and literally we're back in that moment. She's on top of him. The teacher arrives. The students are like, you're in so much trouble, Gorya. You beat him up. Blah. Right. Like it's like people on the internet yelling to protect Elon Musk. Like, what are you doing? Like, he's fine. I have thoughts on that later because of somebody's name. But anyways, so and then what it does is it zooms out of that moment into the computer screen to show this is a video in it looks like Twitter actually. And Twitter or YouTube or whatever, right? Yeah. This video is on the internet to show the instantaneous reaction of it in sort of cyberspace on the internet, and to show that the impact is already happening. This is such efficient storytelling, and it is not the first time that they use this. This is used pretty consistently to show and it's a transition from an editing perspective, but it's a brilliant one that I wish more people would use. Absolutely.
I mean, it's the pinnacle of like show don't tell kind of thing, but also there's another thing that happens here. Like, if you watch this clip, the teacher runs over to Thyme to go check and see if he's okay.
Yeah.
And then later we see kind of between clips, there's like a flash where it shows Gorya getting a talking to by that teacher.
Yes.
And so
it's showing the impact instantly, but it's all being registered online. So everybody's aware of this miasma around the situation. But also the horror of it is that no matter what happens, Thyme will always be considered to be the precious, powerful, protected one. And that's actually reflected several times in the show. And I wanted to point it out here so that when I point it out later, you're like, oh my God, again. Oh, yeah.
It's totally cool. So then we get the scene where everybody's kind of like reacting to it online, and they have this scene, which is adorable, with Ren and Kevin. And MJ does show up towards the end of that.
And Kevin starts out with his head in Ren's lap.
Yeah. It's so, and he's talking to girls while he's doing it's a really cute moment, but I love that
It
part.
just it just makes me think like they're really playing up the sort of, I don't know, touchy feely, like I'm just all about love, Kevin, but it's all about in his way control, even if he's touchy feely with all of his friends too.
That's a
And
good
that's
point.
just,
Yeah.
playing into that sort of character dynamic.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think that's a good point, because he is very like laissez-faire and very like kind of does what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and that's how he treats the women as well. So it's
Yeah.
but yeah, and then Ren hangs up the phone, which again, this is a version of Ren. This is a version of this character, right? That he's still a little cold, but he's not cold in like a mean way. Like
He's
hanging up
hyper
his,
focused.
yeah.
So he says, how do you say, how are you in French?
French.
And I know it's comment ça va,
Uh-huh.
but
You're like, I can tell you.
no. Yeah. Like, hey, listen to me. No, he wouldn't want to listen to me, because this is the first instance. And that Ty and I love and understand repetition.
Yeah.
Right. Repetition is a key to understanding why things are important, because if they are important, they will repeat inevitably. And this is the first instance of Mira in the show.
Yeah, it is, because we don't know yet, but he's thinking about her coming back, and
it's great and brilliant storytelling to be like, he's thinking about France. Why? And then we get our answers later in the show.
Yeah, I like that. So then it spreads all of this talk online. It spreads back to Gorya, who sees that it's she is the spark of the resistance.
Yes. She is resisting for us. She's doing what everyone wanted us. And then those comments are deleted to show the inequity in the power dynamic between him having so much power and her not. Even if she has done something that is powerful, she doesn't have power in that relationship or whatever.
Exactly.
I love the shoes.
I love the shoes.
A little flash to them.
I loved it, and I had this visual in my head last week thinking about the shoes. I was like, I hope she stitches them up. Like, I hope that we get that, and we got it. And I was like, heck yes, this is exactly what I wanted.
And they almost look cooler.
Yeah, they do.
I don't even know how to say that. Like they almost look like that much cooler. Like I would wear those. That's a cool dynamic. It's kind of like people who wear purposefully ripped jeans, or they have that stylistic ripping. It's kind of like, yes, this is my badass shoe that kicked Thyme in the face. I mean, stomach. Yes,
exactly. It's cool. It's just a mark of her, again, her resistance, and her saying, like, standing up for herself and not allowing them to have that control over her. So
I have a theory about MJ and about Kevin. Do you want to hear it? Based on the scene.
Okay.
All right. They are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
I love that. Oh my God. That feeds into my kind of.
They are the commentary back and forth of the two sides of the leads. Right. MJ's like, this has gone too far. We should talk with Thyme. And Kevin's like, he'll figure it out. It's all fine. Like Walt's the two Muppets on the balcony. Like they're kind of like just the internal monologue of the audience or of the crowd or of us, or they're R2D2 and C3PO. Like they're these two characters that are commentating on the relationship dynamic. And I think we'll get more of that. It happens through the show again. Repetition helps us understand things.
I'll go a step further. My theory is that MJ is telling us, he's the voice of reason, and he's saying, like, you should do this, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin,
like a devil angel situation.
Right. But Kevin is actually telling us the subtext of what's happening. So Kevin is like telling you what is happening under the surface, like we'll see later in the scene later when they're talking to Thyme, and MJ is telling us what you should do. Like,
Oh, cool.
it's not too late and all of that. So, but
I'm gonna rewatch this episode with that in mind.
Think about it like that. I want to rewatch the first one with that in mind as well, because they have some moments as well. But yeah, that's what I think. And also when Thyme, or later when Kevin calls out Thyme with the buzzer. So all of that, I don't know, it's interesting. But it seems like Kevin is more like the subconscious and MJ is more like Jiminy Cricket in a way. Like they're two different sides of the conscious. So
they're definitely fulfilling that role where it is telling us stuff, but actually it's not overt. So it's still in a way showing. Which
exactly. It is. It's good.
Yeah.
I love their play by their how they kind of interact with each other is really cool.
And then we get this moment where you know, on MJ's phone, I'm gonna be late for school.
And then the music gets all like really intense and really dramatic. You're like, oh god.
There's a lot of synth in this the like soundtrack, in the score. There's a lot of synth, and they use like drop beats and stuff like that. Like it's very intense when the intense scenes happening. So like when some intense stuff happens later on in the show, I'm not going to be ready for it because it'll be like super intense. But this was I got plans. I'll be late for school. What are your plans? Kidnapping.
It is really funny because if you know what's happening, like you know what's happening, you're like, oh, this is it. This is when she gets kidnapped, you know. But the way they did it, it just made me feel things. Like it was very cool. And that's how they open the episode. That's how they like get us to the title sequences, and they call it, you know, it's the second impact. This right here, this little last gif on the bottom, like made me feel things. It just was really cool, especially because at that last second he smiles right before the hood goes down.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, he is only in the car waiting for her in this version and in the Japanese version.
Yeah.
And all the other versions, he
sends
kidnapped.
people to go
Yeah.
take her. Yeah. And he shows up later.
He shows up at the house. So, but this is so much more personal, right? Because he's like watching it happen, like the violent part of it, he's watching it happen. So it's very like high stakes.
And there's a lot being said that like, and this again, repetition, it repeats throughout the episode, that he is witnessing her. Yes. And he is watching her, and his eyes are on her. And that's something that is so sexy.
It is so sexy.
This is the violent part of it, but it is still sexy. And this all ties to kind of dangerous lover narratives, and like if you think about Pride and Prejudice and how they talk about Darcy's eyes looking at Elizabeth, it's the same thing.
Even when he's saying horrible things to her and insulting
his
her,
eyes are intensely looking at her.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we got our opening, which is so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
Every single one of these, I thought it was kind of cool, like how they use their actual names. I thought that was kind of interesting, but they also start with an F for every single one of them. It starts with an F and then it moves into the full name.
Right.
Really
so
cute.
If there's an E, it transforms from the F into an E. And for Bright, I think it was like, oh, maybe he doesn't have an F.
He did. It was just it cut from like the ads to him. It goes from an F to the I in the middle of his name.
This is a good time to ask about this, but what do you think about the lens of the show being entirely on them?
I think it's a framing device.
It is. Yeah. It is, but it is different than like any other of the adaptations. Even though all the adaptations are like called like Meteor Garden or Boys Over Flowers, it's more generic, right? About the theme from her of the show. This is F4, and it focuses on the ads, on like who they introduced first, all of that.
I noticed that there were some comments online. I've only seen a few, but I mean, they were loud, like people saying that it's unfair to that all of the story is focusing on on F4 when the original story is supposed to be about the female lead. I thought that was kind of unfair because I think the enticing feminine gaze part of the story is focusing on the 4 different characters that are the guys, because they're all, the whole idea is the fact that they're supposed to be they're not like these macho guys, like they're really just gentle and loving, and the idea
But they
that they're
come with
complex and
scary power, all of them.
yes, and
right.
and that's, for some reason, that's very enticing to women who live in a world with severe power inequalities, right? So it's kind of like taking things to this extreme to show us, hey, like people can change and people can be different, and seeing the good in people and having compassion for them, and or learning compassion for people that you otherwise would not have compassion for. Like that's a very feminine gaze type of story. So I still think
and things are still in the show framed from her perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as the manga, as much as any of the other versions are, it's still, we follow her as she goes, like she's the one who goes to the flower shop, she's at the flower shop, she's the one who interacts with Ren, she's the one who has discussions with her friends. Occasionally we'll have flashes to the guys, but it's always around what is the problem with Gorya.
yes what is happening to her, or how is she dealing with this,
dealing with time around her. Like it's in many ways, like Meteor Garden 2018 focused less on her.
You didn't get a lot of assertiveness from her. Like things happened to her, and there were a few instances that were exciting where she kind of took things into her own hands, but aside from like the first kick, you don't really get a lot of aggressiveness out of Shensai. So this one is a lot more, we have a lot more insight into like what she's feeling through conversations with her friends or conversation with like the flower shop owner, all of that. Like she's telling us so much more from her perspective. So, and
even in the original Japanese adaptation, Hana Yori Dango, she keeps a lot of stuff inside. Like it's really interesting. Like the main lead, female lead, and even in Boys Over Flowers in Korea, they all keep things on the inside. This character, Gorya, does not. And so we know, we it's almost like we have instantaneous check-ins about where she is and how she's doing, which is, I mean, I appreciate this change, because in so many ways, as a self-insert story, people misunderstand it very easily if the main female lead is more of a blank slate. They put their own emotions on her.
That's so true. Yeah. And that's why the different adaptations are so great to have, because you get to see those little bitty changes, like those little bitty differences. Yeah. It's still kind of a self-insert, but this one, and I do have to say, it is a lot to do with the fact that this is an update. Every time there's an update, our female character is probably going to have more agency, because that's where we're going. Thank God for progressing. So, I mean,
again, original story, 1992. It has been almost 30 years.
Yeah.
We would hope we would hope for some updates.
Exactly. Okay. So the other part of the opening, I love this
part.
Wheat,
the grass, and then covered in black rose petals. What is going on? And then it's into like a field of planets and stars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The black rose explodes, and then they're in the stars, and it's like it couldn't get more exciting than that. Like, because we already know, like, the grass is growing up, the flower or the grass flowers, or whatever we want to call them, are growing up to the sky to reach the stars, which are
it's when grass goes to seed. That's what they're showing us. Like
so we're going up into the stars.
What is the George Lucas quote? Subtlety is for the weak. Like
Yeah, I think it's like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Like it's not subtle.
No.
This is like symbolism 101. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just love
I
it.
also right here in the GIF that I have here on the right, before they zoom into her, on the right is Thyme dressed in black, and on the left is Ren dressed in white.
Aw.
Yeah. So we're getting kind of like a yin yang type of thing going on.
And a
which is so cool.
triangle.
And I love triangles.
And a triangle.
Love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the opening. And there's a little sequence where it's very colorful in space and it shows all of the boys, and it's very well done. It's very well done. So
Such a good intro. Oh, hey.
yes,
We talked about this.
yes. So on the last couple of episodes that we did for this show, we were talking about how the director said in the special before the show premiered, they did a little behind the scenes thing, and the director said that sometimes, yeah, Thyme has all these different sides to him. And what do you say about like?
Oh yeah, so
percentages?
he would talk with Bright about
Mhm.
playing time, and then they would give him percentages of being what percentage is Thyme at this moment of being angry, a child, sweet, or smitten. And then they would each scene they would talk about the percentages and if it transformed over the course of the scene, because then you can clearly see the emotions that are going through Thyme in real time. Like, and so like which time is this time quadrant charts that you have created is gorgeous because it helps us to really understand, like, and in so many ways in the first episode he's just an angry child.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is what he is, but primarily he's angry. He is dealing with the expectations of his family and his position and has nothing but the need for control, like many children need, right? They lash out because they have nothing that is in their own control.
Exactly. And that's why I it's not like a perfect quadrant chart, because typically these things would be opposites on each opposite side of the lines here. But I figured it'd still be fun to do it because he is going to go through all four of these, and he's going to float in a very fun way between all of this. And this will also give us a way to analyze Thyme from episode to episode, and even within the episode, which we will do a couple of times in this one, because it's just fun. He's very like emotionally raw character.
Yeah,
so it's fun.
And
to
even you can see him flash between different times, like, so
yeah, I think I did.
like
I did.
Oh, okay. So he goes yeah, because like from the start of where he's at, he's angry, maybe slightly smitten. Right?
Yes.
And then he goes all the way over to angry child because he's like, I'm not getting my way, I'm gonna like act out.
Exactly.
And then we almost get like a different version of him 100%.
Yes. At the end, yeah. That's why he dipped down a little bit. This is kind of my feeling like for like overall episode.
Yeah.
He kind of starts out more angry, and then that little dip down there is kind of, you know, what happens towards the end. But yeah, this one's gonna be really fun. So which time this time? I thought it was very clever for that, by the way. But yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Thank you. So she gets kidnapped, and you have the cutest little scene of her freaking out, like, and it's adorable. She acts the heck out of this. I really, really love this part, and it gets us to see a little bit more of a goofy kind of side of her.
Yeah, it would be quite intimidating to get your eyebrows done for the first time if you've never had them done.
And with a razor blade like that.
Well, waxing would be worse. Like,
oh, for sure. I think they did waxing in some previous versions, or at least that was like implied. But this,
or they waxed her legs or something. Like,
yeah, I kind of remember that for some reason. But this one was a bit more tame. More simple. It was like she's kind of enjoying it in a way, unused to it, but enjoying it.
She looks gorgeous.
She looks great. I love her hair like that. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
She looks
I mean,
awesome.
that is a commonality with all of the versions during this makeover. And it,
Makeover.
you know, what is better than a good like makeover supercut, right? Like just,
Yeah.
you know,
It's just a female fantasy, like honestly,
yeah,
and for some men as well, I'm sure. Like pampering is a fantasy, and it's really fun to get dolled up. And this is a point here, right? I wanted to make, which was that he is treating her like his doll, and this
yeah,
goes for every version. And this is a big, like, what they do in this episode, this is what makes this particular choice of kind of plot points. The way that they do this is the same way they do it, we'll talk more about this later. They do the 2005 version of Hana Yori Dango, the Japanese version. The reason why it works so well, it gets us to a very specific conflict at the end very quickly and within one episode.
yeah.
Whereas this story arc in the manga takes place over, I think, 10 volumes,
Chapters,
10 chapters. Yeah.
10 volumes or chapters.
Forget which one is which, but
yeah. And this is like efficiency of storytelling. And they had the benefit of basically choosing to take what they wanted from basically different versions. And we're like, that was very efficient. We're going to use that.
yeah.
I do want to say, like, there is something about the size that they're dealing with from a timeline perspective. So if we're talking about 16 episodes and these episodes roughly run about 60 minutes, without like the commercials associated with them, they usually do a minute or two of commercials.
Yeah.
The first episode was 68 minutes and minus commercials is 60 minutes. And this one was around 60 minutes, maybe 655. They're still dealing with, on average, 10 to 15 minutes more per episode than the Hana Yori Dango version 2005. However, Hana Yori Dango had 20 episodes in the end with both 1 and 2. So we're looking at somewhere in the range of like having an extra 60 minutes to tell a story for this version compared to the 20 episode version from the 2005 version. So I do actually think when Hana Yori Dango tells things, the 2005 version, in an efficient, succinct manner, we might get repetition of that version just because it's easier to tell the story in a quick, condensed version if it was successful. Sometimes it wasn't successful. Sometimes things ended up playing out weird.
Yeah.
So they might lean into something of their own, like they did in the first episode.
Yeah. So we're not, it's definitely clear that using the Hana Yori Dango version 2005 makes sense for, like you said, from the time perspective. So I don't know, like, but at the same time, yeah, they're not following it to a T because the first episode was nothing. Well, I don't want to say it's nothing like it, but yeah, it didn't have, there's a lot of things that they did differently. So we'll see. But this episode fits like beat for beat. So
just the meaning of the beats is slightly different.
Yes,
he gives her a car.
Different. He does give her a car.
He gives her a Mercedes Benz. What?
I love that because it's going to fit into the storyline that we know is coming from the previews with the bus, which is also something that's new, which is really cute.
He wanted to dress her up, and then he's like, no, she's dressed up now. She's now in my world. I can't have her taking the bus.
Yeah.
It made logical sense to him. Right? Exactly. Like, no. Now she's my kept woman.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's again, literally what he says, basically.
Yeah, it is. And but to me, I was like, it's like dressing up your Barbie and getting the dream house and the car, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It really was just
He's
so
such
funny.
a child.
He is. There was also the part where she's like, yeah, how did you know I took the bus? And he points out that he had like a tail on her, like a person following her around taking pictures of her. I was like, oh my God, they're really kind of pushing it with this, because that was an addition, you know, I think that was new.
I know everything about you.
Yeah.
Baby.
Like,
okay.
Little stalkerish, but I guess, you know, all in good fun. And then I clipped a lot from this because it was such a good scene. And they had so much back and forth, it's so exciting when they have so much back and forth. So he wants her to apologize on video so that the whole school sees it, and so that he can basically get his authority back, because she stood up to him and he feels like he's like lost his authority. But then she calls him out by saying, like, why would you give me all this stuff? Like, you could just force me to do this another way. Like, and then she realizes, because she's smart, you want to apologize, or you feel bad for doing that. Yeah. So you
feel bad for going like to the extreme, and truthfully, like, he doesn't want to hurt her, he just wants things his way.
Yes.
It's really interesting. And then he's like trying to explain it. He's like, no, I want to give you something so that you're giving me something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's even now seeking balance,
mm-hmm.
right? He's seeking equity with her. He's like, you're going to give me something that's like hard for you to give, so I'll give you something. See, quid pro. And he can't even say it. And this is from the original manga. This is from the other versions. This country's language, i.e. Japanese or Korean or whatever, it's not in the 2018 Meteor Garden, but he doesn't speak 100% Thai well.
Mm-hmm.
Because Thai is his second language. He was born elsewhere, or grew up being an international person, like his mom, who hangs out a lot in Singapore and probably speaks Chinese, and things like that, right? So he struggles with sort of these
like sayings.
And so he's like, quid pro, and then she finishes it for him with ma, which mao, and it, like, I'm not pronouncing this correctly, but then you hear a dog sound as he's like cowed.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You hear dog sounds multiple times with him,
because
he's like, he's got that sound. But ma is dog in
really?
Thai.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm confused. Somebody who speaks Thai, please correct us. What is this? What is quid pro quo? Because that's not what it is when you Google it.
It might be something like scratch the dog's back or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It might be like a more complex.
Yeah. There might be like a reference in there, but again, dog references associated with this character is quite common.
Yeah.
Like, he is the dog who needs to heel. He is the dog who needs to obey. But yet, like, so the key is like, he's on this chain, he's on this leash, right?
Yeah.
And he's being tightly bound. And so whenever they throw out a dog reference, if we catch it, we will try to like point it out.
Yeah. Somebody else on Twitter made the comparison of him going from a tiger to a cat. Like a tiger to a kitty cat. And that's what it is. It's like going from this monster to just a puppy dog instantly, just from her, chastising him, which is so cute. So then she says something very important here. She says, I will never like these things, so you can take them back. And she doesn't remember this.
Is key. This is so key.
Really important.
Because he views them as him.
Yeah.
These are him. These things are him.
She's rejecting him.
She is rejecting him. And it, again, repetition, it comes back.
Yes. I at first I was confused by the scene because I'm most familiar with the Chinese Meteor Garden version. And it's the first one I watched, and I've watched it several times, honestly. And it's very explicit in that scene that he's asking her, not asking her, he's demanding her, you can date me now. Like, how happy are you about this? Like, I'll let you hang out with me. I'll help you with your homework. You can, hitch a ride to school with me, all this kind of stuff.
I'll pick you up. We'll spend time together. Yeah. You get the honor of spending time with me. And in the original manga, we get to spend time together, but it'll be in private. Like, we'll have to hate each other in public, but I'll treat you nice behind the scenes. So this is an interesting version. He's not even trying to date her. He's literally just trying to do something nice in his mind for her. As, and in a way, like, this is like the very childish version of let's be friends. Like, can we be friends now?
Yes. And it almost, it's great because it's putting some more distance there for there to be more sincerity when he does kind of come clean about his feelings for her.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
And then she kicks him in the nethers.
Oh yeah. She does. I love that little addition because he kind of like grabbed her and they like struggled for a minute and she just wasn't having any of that. So, and then they go and then she like runs around the house, which is again, this is the same as the Japanese version. She's like opening doors to like a billiards room and a gigantic tub and all of that. And then they finally come head to head again, which doesn't happen in the Japanese version. She ends up leaving by herself in the Japanese version. And she does run into his mom, but there's no words exchanged. It's just like a look. But in this version, they put them together, which is great for like this little fight at the end. And
that chemistry test that we talked about in the episode 0 episode where we're talking about this, like this is their chemistry. They do very well fighting. And then, you know, when they're more intimate later on.
Yes. Yeah. And also what's really fun about the fighting that they're doing in this version is like they're touching each other, right?
Yes.
So this is like kind of a version of skinship that you don't think about because it's like it does take chemistry to fight with people in real life. It takes chemistry to like touch people and kind of like struggle for things like fighting with, you know, a friend over the remote or something like that, or fighting with your sibling or whatever. Like, you know, you're building chemistry with that person when you're arguing. And when he says here, how much would it cost you to apologize to me? And he's like 15 million, 20 million. Like he's so desperate to be accepted. Oh,
it's so sweet.
And then she calls him a jerk.
Yeah.
Right. So she calls him a jerk and he's like, no, call me Thyme, which is a very specific Thai thing. Do you want me to talk about it now?
Yes, please. Cause it'll come up later too. And I didn't know this. I didn't see this, you know, in my research.
Oh yeah, no, I heard it. And oftentimes in Asian languages, there is a cultural thing where you give respect to your elders. So in say Japan, it's senpai, you're an older classman, right? You give senpai. In China, it's gugu, you're calling somebody your older brother or uncle or, you know, aunt, right? And in Korea, if they were like in class or whatever and they were close, you call them oppa. Oppa, or there's another word for upperclassmen similar to senpai, which I can't think of at this moment. But in Thailand, if somebody is aged older than you, you add P, like P-E-E, but they add a comma. So it's like Thyme, call me Thyme, which is I respect you as my elder. And for women, they would call them Nong. Like, so somebody older than me, you would have to call me Thai. You'd have to call me Nong MC. Just because it's for women, right?
Yeah.
And it's entirely due to respect due to an elder.
Yeah.
That's it, right? It's sort of like older brother in that respect. She's like, you jerk. And he's like, no, call me Thyme. I need this respect. Like, respect me. And she refuses. And then it's a subtle thing. But when she chooses to use the P name later on, it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are a lot of things building up to like the conflict at the end. And that is one of them, which is something I never would have caught because I don't speak the language. So yeah, they're struggling. And then of course the mom shows up and it's again, that moment where we see that she is basically without any words exchanged, calling him out for not having any control over this girl and therefore not having any control over anything, like not proving himself to have control for his future responsibilities. So you can see this gets to him and he does that. I think it's going to become a signature thing. Yeah, it's a swallow again.
This deep swallow where you see his Adam's apple like go the length of his entire neck.
Like,
It does.
and like, you know, that feeling, like, you know, when you see a man and his Adam's apple goes like up and down, like it's a deep swallow, and he's just like swallowing his own feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that's as funny as it is, but it is. And it happens many times in this episode, again, showing us how how much he's swallowing his feelings, but how vulnerable he is, right? Because you feel his
Because
vulnerability.
he's a baby.
Because he's a baby. Exactly. So yeah, so I clipped this for when she does walk outside. This was just such a great moment. She tests the keys for the car just to make sure like he was going to give her a car, and it wasn't a lie, like it wasn't fake, which really shows you where her mind is at with him. She can't fathom this, and then she's like looking at the wealth of everything, and she's like, oh my god,
and where she is in the city versus where she probably lives, and like there's a lot done in show don't tell in this. Like it's just like this, the cinematography, the direction is just brilliant.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, they've really done a good job.
I don't think I've seen a show in North America that is this good.
I agree.
Like recently. Like
yeah. There's a lot of use of shaky cam, like during the scene on the bottom left that I've clipped from her going back to school with the board. So anytime you know, shaky cam tends to make you feel
off put.
Like uneasy. And they use it specifically in the moments where that the horror of being in this situation is happening, and then they go back to steady cam whenever, you know, she's at the house, and it's like that should be a horror, but it's not, because
he is actually her home, and and she just doesn't know it yet. That's a really important psychological thing that happens in these stories with like the man being dangerous and powerful and things like that.
It's that he is gonna, like, this is gonna be a safe space for her in the future. And therefore, like, they're using very clear choices for, like, the school is not a safe place because of all the people who are bullying right now, and just kind of it's kind of like hell. But these places with Thyme outside of the school, like those are going to be safe places, and they're using this a lot more warmth in the color tones of like the scenes.
And it's cold at the school from a color perspective.
That's really interesting.
And we get the graffiti on the board, and we get the graffiti on the chair, and that's straight from the manga, and even some of the stuff that's called out in that. But the key is that the horror is around how the sort of adults around these kids react to this. Like, it's not that it's happening, because it happens to everyone, but the horror happens in how people react to it
and don't react to
it. Don't react to it.
It's like, it's just normal.
And basically when the teacher comes in and says, how am I supposed to write on the board with all of that writing on it? So there is no justice, only there is no out. There is no justice.
She's like, she looks at the chair and she's like, why is the chair knocked over, without even caring,
acknowledging what it says, which is get out.
So and then a pretty good choice here was that the bullying shifts from this, you know, kind of outward, like physical, like on the board and stuff, to being again online, because that's where the worst stuff is going to happen because of these anonymous accounts. And they're talking about, like, is she in the group chat? And then some people are like, well, who cares if she's in it or not? Like, why don't we ask her how many abortions she's had and all of that. So this is obviously, like, it is from the manga, that she has had, you know, she's been with guys and she's gotten pregnant and she had to get abortions. Like, that is something's in the manga, but the way that she deals with it here is very different.
Just to like, like, okay, I'm just gonna lean into this and shock you.
It was very clever. She's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I must have morning sickness. Like rolling her eyes, like, guys, come on. Like, I know that you know as well as I do that this is not true. Whereas like in the manga, she's like, I have to go.
And confronts him and says like,
I'm a virgin.
I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, is she telling me she's a virgin because she wants me to do something about it?
That's in the Korean version too. And it's so cute.
It's so funny. They're dumb.
They're so dumb. Yeah. But that's what makes it adorable. For some reason, it's such a ridiculous thing, but it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but then she goes up to the roof again to, you know, but
yell.
But Ren is there.
Yes.
And
Ren is there.
This is when she chooses to call him P Ren.
Yes.
To give him that respect. And in so many ways, they're kind of playing it like oppa, a little bit like the Korean meaning of it, like in some ways. But I found out through my research that Thai culture has actually adopted oppa. So it would be interesting to see if it actually comes out.
Yeah.
Inside of the.
Yeah. What you shared with me was that it's like slang. So
it's slang for a handsome Asian guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a hottie. And you can call any handsome Asian guy an oppa or oppa-ba.
Yeah. That shows you how far Korean dramas really have reached. It's just like
influenced.
It's so funny. But yeah, so, and this is also the second instance of, I think, Mira kind of showing herself, kind of foreshadowing that.
Yes.
Because of the question over
the flights, the question about how long it is from France. So Mira is there again. Yeah. Right. So really, really important repetition, and it's slowly uncovering the mystery of why he's distracted and what he cares about truthfully. Right. But it's only revealed from her perspective, Gorya's perspective, that he is thinking about something else, but we get a better reveal later on about how he's thinking about her too.
Yes. And I don't remember if it's happened yet. I don't think so. But at some point, MJ and Kevin also call it out and say that he's only thinking about one thing.
Yeah.
And we know. And they either say Mira specifically, but I don't remember exactly.
No, there's an immediate cut to something else, I think, in that moment. So yeah. But there's a cut to him like about to touch her on the head, I think, at that point. Like they're together. It's just before Thyme shows up. That's in a bit.
Yeah. So that, and she was on the billboard behind.
Then we get this flower shop gossip, which I love that they're using it as flower shop gossip, and they're talking about like, you know, they talk about boys. Like it's so good. And this is from the manga too, the candy shop owner gossips.
And it's in the 2005 version that was a woman. Yeah. And she talks about
past loves
and everything. It was so funny. So this is very similar to that. And they're talking about first kisses.
I want to talk about first kisses.
Yes, talk about first kisses. You have some interesting notes in here.
Well, it's just like first kisses are actually like very fundamental to our culture. They're psychologically, it's not something that we as humans have learned. It's actually something that is partially instinctual, and they think it actually comes from like the suck reflex, and like and also what they call rooting when you're a baby.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
you need to learn how to like feed yourself as a baby, right? So you have an instinct to turn towards people. That's the head tilt. Babies practice it in utero, even the head tilt and the going in. And then because we have 5 billion nerves in our lips, it's like one of the indicators of health of a mate.
Wow.
Right? There's like tons of evolutionary reasons why a first kiss is like a litmus test for whether this relationship will work. 90% of people remember their first ever kiss like as a significant moment, etc. But it also allows you to taste, feel, smell, you know, and be intimate with a potential partner. So any first kiss of a relationship, but also the male passes testosterone to the female, which helps with arousal.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so it's fundamental to like a first step of intimacy. And culturally it's become significant because of the biological reasons. I just want to say, like, it's both culture and biology playing into it together.
And there is something to be said about being that close to somebody with your faces pressed against each other and tasting someone. Like it tells you a lot. And there's
and if it doesn't work for you, it will not work for you. Right. Like that's the key, is like you are able to make a snap decision. Like once you've had your first kiss, you're like, and there's a lot of pressure on that. Like having a kiss, you'll know this person is for you or not for you. Right.
What Marie-Claire, tell us about your first kiss. Was it good or bad? You remember it, right?
It was bad.
Mine too. Mine was awful. Yours,
he bit me. Well, he thought he was trying to like go in for a French. I'm like, why are you doing that when it's like,
oh, so he like opened his mouth and
and like he had braces too, and so it was bad.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Mine was a peck, but neither of us knew if we were supposed to be like sucking or like blowing or like puckering, or so it was all kinds of weird. It didn't last much more after that either.
All this started because Gorya is teasing Kanging about a guy that we haven't met, whose name is Tesla. Okay, so this is the guy we will find out later on is dating Kanging, right? Who they go on the double date with later.
That's what I was gonna say. It's a double date guy who ends up,
and the fact that his name is Tesla tells you everything.
Okay, I get it now. I was like, what is this about Tesla? And okay, that makes way more sense. Well, that's
he's on the relationship chart.
Okay, good. I love that scene too. I love that whole conflict. Is just excellent. So
look forward to that because it's good.
I am very much looking forward to that. So then we get kind of this these two scenes kind of mash together, like they cut back and forth between them. So obviously the friend shows up at the shop. The only other version that does this is the 2005 Japanese version, where the friend shows up and they kind of have this reconciliation. And in this particular one, the scene, they talk about making anonymous accounts, which is important for the plot. And they're going to like support Gorya through these accounts. And then at the same time, meanwhile, we have Thyme playing a game, which in other iterations, like they're playing like some kind of board game or some kind of like, classy thing.
He's sitting on somebody's bed, one of their beds. It's probably Kevin's bed, and
doing a VR game.
And doing a VR game.
I think it's just so good. It's so funny that he gets mad at it. Like he's just like, this is too hard. Like, and then Kevin calls him out and says, are you frustrated with the game or Gorya? And again, this is my like theory of like he's telling us the subtext. And then MJ tells him, he's like, maybe we've gone too far with this red card thing. Like maybe we should cancel the red cards, like stop doing it. And then he says, it's not too late to turn back now. And you could see him thinking about that. But then right after that kind of moment, he sees his mom and his like head.
Yep. Dark mother flash. The expectations, all of that. Like, I can't go back.
I've already chosen this path almost. Like he has to keep doing this because he's got to prove something to his mom and to him. So MJ continues to be the voice of reason, which I love to see. And then we get this great scene of the Billboard scene. And on the billboard, it says embraced by the star, and it's for what looks to be like a perfume called a Meteor or something like that.
Yeah.
This scene is great. I love that it's called, like, they literally are saying, you know, they're telling us it's like a name of the scene almost. I
Yeah.
feel like, because he's embracing her.
Subtext is for the week.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
And so there's a couple of things. They've created a triangle, right? In the framing of the episode, right?
That's
Mira
so
is
true.
between them, but they themselves are connected. He is very intimate with her, wiping food from her face, touching her shoulder, touching her head, leaning in like a kiss. And she's like, whoa, are you going to kiss me? And he's like, don't lie. You thought I was going to kiss you.
Yes.
Like
yes.
very, 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 very overt.
Yes.
Yes.
And
because,
and that's like similar to previous versions where it almost feels like he's teasing her. And it's like, okay, why is he doing this? Like, and if you know from the previous versions that like he does like her, like he's starting to like her, and
he's fascinated by her and what
yes,
she represents, i.e. change
exactly.
for them. But what's fascinating about this whole moment is that it's actually witnessed by Thyme, because he left. He was frustrated with his other friends who were telling him the truth, and he's like, I'm going to go find Ren. And he goes and finds Ren, who is his best friend. In all the versions, Ren and Thyme are best friends of the four, and he sees her with him. And then he also sees her with her friends and knows like he can't go after Ren. So he's going to go after and he can't go after Gorya.
Yeah, not anymore. Not explicitly, yeah.
Right? Like, but he can go after this other friend.
True. Very true. Yeah, so we put this, we had this slide in here when we had our discussion last week. But MC wanted to put it back in here because it's a good reminder that these are the love triangles that we're dealing with right now. So.
Yes, we're dealing with two triangles that are kind of like focused on each other, and the core of both is right now Ren and Gorya's relationship. That is the core of the show right now.
Yeah.
Thyme is off to the side because he's just being an idiot, and Mira isn't even back yet, right?
Yeah.
But these things start to shift as the focus changes to Thyme and Gorya later on, and Ren decides to support them. And also Mira takes herself away from the situation herself.
Yes. And something also I was thinking about today was that, with Mira, when she does come back, Gorya has like an instant girl crush on her.
Yeah.
And Mira and Gorya do have a kind of a blossoming friendship that is very deep and very important. And then, obviously we know that Ren and Thyme have a very deep friendship, a bromance, if you will.
Yeah.
So that makes this, these two little love triangles even more interesting because those are connecting on the sides as well.
Yeah, exactly. So. I was going to ask if you were going to add more arrows in at some point. But this is, again, like we feel Mira's presence throughout, like with association with Ren throughout this whole thing, similar to how we feel Gorya when Thyme is with other people, because he is so hyper focused on her, even though he's trying not to like overtly talk about her. We feel them when they're not there, and it's really well done.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the friend gets the red card, and they do something very, again, I didn't think they could up the shoe thing, but they totally upped the shoe thing with pulling this buzzer out. I literally was like, no, this is so, it's really bad. Like I love this character and I know where this is going, and he could do anything and I could still love him. I don't care what you do. I don't know, do something very violent, I don't care, you still love you. But I just know that people are going to be upset about this scene. It's going to be interesting how they're going to react. I haven't gone after looking for the comments.
Yeah.
Because I saw the scene and I was like,
oh, he
people are gonna be
swallowed
mad.
again. He swallows when she calls him a
That's-
spoiled rich brat.
That's why
Yeah.
I clipped it, because every time he swallows, I'm like, that is great. I think he's so attractive. Anyways,
But yeah, so in this moment, her friend they're about to shave her friend's hair. She shows up, she protects her friend, and then, you know, he whispers gently into her ear just after saying, "Now shave your own head and I'll let her go." Or you could just give up.
Or you could just give in. Yeah.
Or you could just give in to me.
I love that little moment. And then also I like the where Kevin shouts, he's like, "Thyme, like you're going too far." Like there's a lot of subtext there with just in that one little shout. Like he doesn't say anything, but he's just saying everything.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, come on. Like you got to be kidding me. Like don't do this. Like don't make her do this."
And Ren shows up.
Yeah.
And says, "No, actually, you were wrong about the time. It's 9 p.m. because of the time change." But this is Mira protecting Gorya for the first time, because it's Mira.
Yeah.
Symbolically, it's Mira's protecting Ren, like through Ren.
Well, Ren's thinking about her, and he's thinking about like what she would want, and what she would do.
It's like, what would Mira do in this moment?
Yeah.
And Mira would protect Gorya.
Yeah. And that's proven even so later. I also love the reactions from everyone here. Like MJ and Kevin just look so relieved. They're like, thank God, because the only person that could really stop him in this moment is Ren. So so they're happy to see him. And they kind of
like Thyme has not gotten to the point where he's able to get mad at Ren.
Yeah.
Right. Like he will let Ren, because they are again best friends and they don't want to risk that formative relationship.
And they also don't want others to see any kind of weakness in the group, like their bond and the power that they have as 4 guys with these powerful families. Like they don't want anyone to think that there's any like rifts between them. I think that that's kind of like alluded to.
But it's similar to watching like the show Survivor,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you have a duo or you have an alliance, as soon as there's a crack in that alliance, then people are like, "Oh, we could take the alliance down."
It's a weakness. Exactly.
It's a weakness, right? And they can't show weaknesses because of the control that they maintain over their own situations and in the school.
Exactly. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, so then we get kind of like a montage. Thyme is like rethinking the red card here. I really like that little moment, even though I think Gorya's dialogue is kind of covering it. But he crumples up the red card. He's clearly upset with himself and like with how things are going, and he's contemplating like a way forward without this game, without this red card game. So that's interesting. And then Gorya is seeing more and more of the tweets, it looks like, from supporting her. Don't give up, #Team Gorya. And then and then we get the scene with the friends, the mean girls. I call them the mean girls.
They're so archetypically like caricatures. Like they're archetypes, and they're also caricatures of like mean girls. Yeah. They're almost extreme versions of them from a caricature perspective.
They're always overacted in every single version. Every single version they
like overact. 2018 is like the most minimal.
Oh, they're pretty cool, except for when they're when they go to the cabin like in Canada or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And like they do some really wacky things, like almost just very comically bad villain kind of vibes.
Very.
But around that, they're kind of the more realistic versions, I'd say.
So I have a question for you. Will they go to Canada as a Canadian? I need to know if they're going to go to Canada. And they like no place, never have they actually filmed in Canada in
Yeah.
any of these versions. They find a different place to film.
Mhm.
But will they go to Canada?
I have to go somewhere like snowy. I mean,
I
right?
know.
Like that's just a part of this story. Like you go somewhere tropical and you go somewhere snowy. Like I don't know. That would be cool. Canada would work for Thailand because
It's in the original like manga. They go to
yeah,
Canada. Yeah.
yeah. So like, I mean, you're on that side of the world. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's like a ridiculously long flight, but still, like, it would work unless they decide to do New Zealand or I don't know, another snowy place in
Depends
China.
on the time of the year. Because if it's summer, they could go to New Zealand, like Australia, and there's
Exactly.
snow then.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I don't know. I want them to go to Canada because that's like every
'Cause
time they go to Canada. and I love it.
Yeah, because MC's in Canada. I'm on the east coast of the US. So you're on the other side. You're like on the
Yeah, I'm
west
literally where they're
side.
going skiing.
Yeah.
Go skiing. Go skiing where I am. That makes me happy.
It is
Yeah.
exciting.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, but these mean girls who are like, we're gonna be your friends is all just a setup. And that's always like one of those horror fears in school. You're like, is this mean person being nice to me suddenly just to catch me in some sort of trap?
Yes.
Like, that just gives me the worst feelings.
Yeah, because girls specifically, yeah, it's very much a stereotype that girls are very manipulative and young girls are like that, and young girls are really bad bullies. And if you've experienced that, then yeah, they're
And they invite
pretty
her
dangerous.
to a party and are like, yeah, don't worry about what you're wearing. It's just a cash thing. And you're like, no.
Yes. In the
The
Korean
worst.
version, they tell her it's a costume party and she shows up as like Wonder Woman, I think. And yeah, every version's a little different, but this is similar to that 2005 version. So they tell her like that she can just wear her normal clothes. It's just casual. So, but this might be like one of my favorite scenes of the show so far. I loved it when the dad said Mick and Mac. Like he didn't like, it's not fully pronounced as like mix and match, but that's clearly what it means. And he's just so adorable when he says it. I just
it's
died.
a fish shirt.
Yes.
It's a fish Hawaiian shirt or something like that, like a a button-up shirt and like a
leopard
tiger
print.
leopard print
Skirt
bottom dress.
Yeah. And he says it's mix and match. And he's like, no, this is like what extravagant people do. You have something wild on the top and you have something like this on the bottom, and then you have like a print on the bottom. And he's like, this is what expensive people do. It's just really cute.
They're just, yeah. And then his or her brother is talking about makeup and like what works for her. And oh, it's adorable.
It's cute. And this is like, I really, really like this because the whole family so far from the very beginning has been like her fairy godmother.
Yeah.
They are so supportive. They want her to succeed, but they also want her to feel good about herself and to dress up and, wear makeup and all of that, to feel good and to feel attractive and to feel worthy. Right. But she does kind of go against their suggestions. She still shows up at the party like not wearing what they suggested, but the feeling that they're giving, it's just like it's good vibes. So then she sees,
I love this too because they have this brief conversation about how dressing up is important because it could take you to the prince of your dreams.
Yes.
And then she's like, the prince of my dreams. And this is like psychologically the dreams / nightmares, right? Prince who's cursed, right? Like all of these things are like psychologically happening behind the scenes.
Yes.
But then she shifts her notice because she was on Instagram and she sees like Kevin is recording Ren waiting at the airport and is like waiting for you.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like this is another one of those show don't tells that is
Mhm.
so well done using technology. And I just wish more people would like, I don't know, learn this. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It is, and it's subtle. Like it does say, I'm here waiting for you. And so she's automatically seeing this story on Instagram and she pictures that he's waiting for her. And she's like, he'll be at the party waiting for me.
The prince of my dreams.
The prince of my dreams. Exactly.
When
So
in truth, like the prince of her dreams is actually the darkness in herself that she finds love in the dark prince.
yes, in
right.
the dark
Like
prince.
that's the heroine sees the darkness and learns to love the darkness in the other person.
Mhm.
Not Ren is like just the imaginary version of who she wants. It's really well done. Wow.
Yes. so then Mira returns, which I love. I love this version of Mira so much. I love her. She is way spunkier and way goofier than previous versions. Typically she's super reserved, and then she doesn't like do much until like, well, I mean she does a lot, but she doesn't really show personality, I think, until when she like cuts her hair off, and or whatever version you're looking at, when she decides to like go off and leave the family and like be a lawyer and all of that, right?
I think that every other version has made her and F4 very reserved, and they're just not. Like they're way more, I don't know, real in a way,
Are you talking about like just from the manga, or just naturally?
Well, just naturally, like they everybody holds a lot in, and it's like they don't like react very strongly, except for the main male lead. He's like the most extreme version of everything. Whereas this one, everybody just feels like they have just way more personality.
Oh, absolutely. I was surprised by that, but I wasn't so, I think, aware of it until Mira does show up, and just when Rin picks her up, I mean, that's on his part, right? That's him expressing a lot. And then she kind of rubs his hair, and you could just see like this great relationship between them two.
And then she goes and hugs the other F4. She's like, she's their version of femininity too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And that has been in all of previous versions as well. It's like she is this ideal to them, but they also know that like this is Ren's girl. Like, this is Ren's girl. So, and also I did want to say, like, this plot inherently changes Mira to make her more expressive right away, because the other plots it's drawn out a lot more. Like Mira comes back, they go to the school, they go to the cafeteria, they have the conversation they had in the airport in like the cafeteria setting, and then she's like, oh yeah, I've been seeing this guy, and this random guy appears, not in the 2018 version, but that does happen in other versions. And then like all this stuff, and they like go to the island, like they were going to go to Hawaii, but they go to another tropical location instead. And then that's where the party happens. But this plot, which is taken from the 2005 Japanese version, combines everything so that the story that typically would happen over maybe 3 or 4 episodes happens in one. And what it does is it makes Mira at the center of the conflict, instead of like having her be this kind of fairy godmother character only, just like giving her clothes or whatever. Like she interacts in the conflict.
She is actually the center of the conflict for Ren.
Yes.
And causes him to act, and is used as like the impetus for change and transformation. And it's just very smart, efficient storytelling. And like, this is where this version, an adaptation, benefits from having all of the other previous versions, because they can literally take what they like. They can be like, I liked this entire episode, and so that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
For efficiency of storytelling, they literally were like, this is efficient, we're going to do this. And it cuts out like the need for all of this like slow progress with Mira, because in so many ways, like it's played up a lot. Like the girls are like, Ren is in love with Mira, and that happens later. Of course, that is a beat. It's meant to hurt her, but they don't need to focus on that for an entire episode. Like, oh no, Ren is in love with Mira. Oh no, we get the same impact even if she only gets to sit with it for 3 seconds before Mira shows up.
Yeah, and there's going to be conflict between these two in the future, and they're going to come together and apart and together and apart. So we don't need to do this 10 times. We can do it, 3 or 4 times.
And it's the same with removing. Gorya has a male friend that joins the school.
Yes. In the previous versions, right?
In the manga and in the 2018 version, but that is condensed into the friend that she makes in school in this version and in the Hana Yori Dango Japanese version. In so many ways, like each version has like the truth of the story for itself. Like the 2018 version hits the most plot points of the original manga.
Yes, absolutely.
Just because it had the space to tell them. But that doesn't necessarily get at the root or the need of telling the story, right? So the efficiency of adapting it to a live action version means you have to make certain choices, especially if you only have so many episodes so you can tell the story in.
Yeah, exactly. So as we're talking about different versions, this is funny. I took a screen grab from the 2005 version just to show you, like, to the extent how similar these are. They even got the dress colors the same.
I'm obsessed with the strawberry dress use.
Oh, for sure.
Because that strawberry dress was all around the internet for like a hot minute.
Yeah.
And now it makes me hate it.
Yeah. I mean, they hit the nail on the head by saying, like, of course one of them would have been wearing this dress, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was so funny. But yeah,
and
I
like,
thought
the canary dress sort of in the middle, and the actors are so funny because they're actually like out there on Instagram, like posting the pictures of their dresses and talking about them. And I think Bright actually logged on to the middle actress, the yellow version dress, and called her Tweety Bird on Instagram. So like the fandom around this is also just really fun to interact with too.
They are so adorable. I've looked at it a little bit here and there and I'm just like, oh my god, like they are very interactive, and they're just active on social media in the first place, which is great. But yeah, so that's cool. And then the party. So obviously Gorya shows up. Oh yeah, you wanted to mention what Gorya is wearing.
Oh yeah, she looks like a gardener. Right? Like she's wearing a vest with like pockets on the front, and then like khakis, and just like a t-shirt.
And then like and then she's got like this satchel, this like almost brown satchel. She looks like she's like working outside in the garden or something.
Yeah, she doesn't even look like she's a serving staff person, which I don't know why that person handed her a plate, but she looks like literally out, like she's about to fix the sprinklers.
Yes,
like a maintenance person. Like I'm like, wow, they're really playing with the costuming in this to double down on points,
because she's cultivating the boys.
Yeah,
she is helping them grow like a good gardener.
Yes.
So yeah.
And we have this moment where it's like, oh look, that's Mira, you're nothing compared to Mira, and this is doubling down on her, like I'm not worthy of anything, right? Like that's kind of the mentality Gorya is at. And
yes,
and
Thyme,
then just
Thyme
always watching, always. And he, like, there's this moment where he looks like he's about to like go and step in or leave or come there, but then doesn't, because Ren shows up, and he's just witnessing. And he, like, this is the psychological step from him going, I'm witnessing and I want to be that person that protected her. That happens. That transformation happens over the course of the next little while.
Yeah, and that's been happening since the very first episode where Rin intervenes and Thyme wasn't there and he's mad about it, right?
Yeah.
So every time he looks at her from afar and he sees Rin acting with her in any way, he's like, I don't like this. And
That
I
should be
don't know,
me.
it should be me,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I might not know why. Like he doesn't know why yet. He doesn't really know his feelings, but yeah, that's been happening for a while. So yeah, then Mira, and this was in the preview. So this is when I started figuring out that this version was going to be very similar to the 2005 version, because this only happens in the 2005 version, where she takes the champagne and she shakes it and sprays it on them and they all fall into the pool. And this was so well done. Every time I watch it, I just like, I get so excited because I'm like, yeah, Mira, like give it to him. And again, it
spray
just
them. It's like turning on the hose and like spraying
yes,
people you don't want on your lawn. Like
exactly. And
Yeah.
this comes from the scene in the manga. Again, they're shoving a bunch of plot points together because in the manga, this was supposed to be, this is like the
They're on
first party,
vacation.
right? So
Yeah.
they combine the first party, which Gorya goes to by herself, and that was the party that the Mean Girls invited her to and told her it was casual. And
Yeah.
then they poured drinks on her head, and then she goes in the bathroom and she like gets a hold of herself. She comes back out, and then she like insults the girls in front of other guests at the party, and she throws a drink on their head. So she actually, the female lead in that version, stands up for herself by kind of shoving it back in their faces. She's like, you're gonna do this to me? Well, look, I'm not somebody you can step on. I'm gonna do this to you as well. But with this plot point, they're shoving all these plots together by having Mira be there and having this be where the mean girl confrontation happens. And it's kind of brilliant because then they can also they give a reason for why Mira wants to protect Gorya in the beginning, right?
There's a subtle thing that's happening just with the text itself. So the girls are like, you look more beautiful than ever. And she's like, that is not what I value any longer.
Ah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Because the transformation is Mira recognizing that she is more than just her beauty.
Yeah.
Right? And
she doesn't want to just
key.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's really smart. And that happens also in the next scene too. Like I think yeah, in a few scenes, because Mira will say that she says, ever since I met you, I wanted to do something crazy. And it's like she literally just met her like a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
but that's supposed to be like, that's how big of an impact that Gorya has on everyone that she meets.
Well, I think it was met her, but like saw the video of her kicking Thyme's butt. Like,
yeah,
I think that's it. Like that's the key, is that this is that's the spark, right? Like this is the thing that changed.
Exactly.
People didn't stand up to what Thyme and the F4, even Mira didn't stand up to it. She played her role. She was the beautiful femme flower associated with F4.
Yeah.
And now she's like, I have more value and worth. Gorya showed that to me.
Yeah. It's really, really important. The spark of change, the kick heard around the world.
The kick heard her. That's great.
I almost wanted to call this show that, but it was a little too long. So then we have Gorya and the fairy godmother moment, part 2, I guess.
Shoes.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about this in episode 1 because of the meteor/grass shoe.
Yes.
Yes. And the shoe being healed or repaired was really, really important. But like, this is fundamentally saying, like, it doesn't matter what shoes you wear, as long as you're wearing shoes, you'll get where you want to go.
Yeah, it's more simple. The message here is more simple, even though the shoes are more extravagant, right?
Yeah.
Because Mira is over here telling her, like, don't ever say that you're not worthy of nice things. Like you can be worthy of whatever you put your mind to. But she's saying that to herself because she has this reverse journey from Gorya's. And she says
they're
calls
foils
it out.
of each other.
They're foils. They're like opposites in the terms of the story. And what's interesting is that this scene is being cut with the scene that's happening downstairs, where upstairs we have her saying, you say, she says, I know you may never trust people like us. And she's talking about people with this opulence, this wealth, but never say you're not right for anything. And then downstairs, we have a conversation happening between, I don't know the friend's name.
Kanging.
Yeah, that's right.
Kanging.
Right. And then Kevin, who are going to be a little bit of an item in the future. And she calls him out and she's like, when a problem occurs, like people like you, this whole that people like you thing can just get rid of it. Gorya has no one to support her. Like, don't you realize that? And then he says,
well, we're there, but more importantly, do you not trust your friends?
Exactly. I kind of thought this was a little revolutionary because he was like, come on, don't you trust your friend? Like, she's really cool, right?
Isn't she?
He's really telling her, like, Gorya has more power than you think she does.
Yep.
I find that really interesting.
And he recognizes it. He recognizes the change in himself and the other F4s that they're all
like
talking about her.
Yeah.
They've all spent so much time thinking about this change that is started to occur. And, in so many ways, your friend is cool, isn't she? Like,
come on. She's already made an impact.
You don't believe in her? Like,
yeah.
Don't you see what we see?
Exactly. She's already made an impact. Things are already happening. She's already sparked the resistance, basically. Yeah. I love that. Again, like calling out things how they are. He's telling us you got to read the subtext. Like, this is what's happening. Love that. So
and then we get our Cinderella moment, and she's so beautiful. And I need to gush about this dress.
Yeah,
this is the light side version. This is the Ren version.
It's the same style.
It's the same style, except it has a little bit longer of a lower part that goes past her knees, but it literally has the poofy sleeves. It has the same thing. It has a heart instead of a bow in the middle.
Yeah,
and it has hearts on the sleeves. She's gorgeous and more comfortable, right? In the outfit. But it is like to Thyme's eyes, she's dressed in all of the stuff he gave her.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Whereas
and his reaction is just so perfect.
It's so perfect. He's so mad. It's so personal.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Like, wait a second. You like this stuff?
Yeah.
That means you didn't like me.
Yeah.
You didn't like the stuff I gave you.
It was never about the stuff. Like, that's what
it was never about the stuff. You don't like me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I think that's when it clicks with him in terms of like he knows now that he's really mad, but also like from the perspective of the arc, right? The arc is telling us that he was dressing her up as a doll. And here we have people like Mira and people like Ren. They see her for who she is and they don't want to try to change her, right? They just want her to feel good in her own skin. They're helping her out because she was fine before. Her clothes were fine before, but she just got some stains on them. So she deserves to have a
feel
change,
nice,
to feel nice at a nice party.
Nice party. Yeah. It wasn't about her wearing nice clothes. Like, and that's a really key thing. She just, she changed because her clothes were stained.
Exactly.
And that she felt comfortable, right?
Yeah.
She was wearing the clothes that made her feel comfortable in that moment. And that's the expression, like, when he holds up the pen because he's an artist. Oh, so good. He holds up the pen because he's an artist and he sees the transformation in her soul and in her face. And then he's like, and it's not the dress, it's the expression. You're comfortable as you in this moment.
Exactly.
so good.
It's so
and and it's like, don't you get it? Thyme, like, you have to love her for who she is.
Yeah, but he's got to figure that out by himself because
Yeah.
he doesn't listen to anybody. He does not.
No.
So, and this is where it all comes to a head. And this is where everything that's happened in this episode was so important to get us here to this conflict. So Thyme calls him out and says, what are you doing? Like, shoves him away right before
I gave her a red
hands.
card. Why are you talking to her?
Yeah. Why do you guys?
These are the rules.
Her?
Why
yeah.
are you breaking the rules?
Exactly. Even though in a scene prior to this, he crumbled up the red card. He was contemplating not doing this anymore, but this got under his skin and it's so personal for him. And he does something in this version that he has never done in any other version.
Pushes Mira.
Yep. He pushes Mira and he takes out his frustration on her because she is the one who dressed her up. So he sees both of them as his enemy in that moment. And of course, Ren is not having that. And Ren pushes him. And all the previous versions, I think Thyme is pretty much the only one kind of going at Ren.
Yeah.
But this was a good way to get Ren to actually fight back, was by Thyme pushing Mira. That was really interesting choice.
It was a good choice. And then so Gorya sees the conflict between Ren and Thyme and is like, no, Thyme, stop, don't hurt Ren, and jumps on him. Yeah. Right.
Jumps on him.
And like this happens in like so many of the other, well, in the Hana Yori Dango version, but this is not what happens in some of the other versions. So it is just very, it's her full of agency. She's stepping in the way and she is acting like she has consistently acted, which is protecting her friends. Right. Yeah. That's what motivates her, is to protect others primarily. But here's the key change.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So, okay. Well, I wanted to mention a couple other things about just the, cause a lot of stuff happens in this like conflict type of thing. You also have MJ and Kevin shouting from the sidelines. They're just screaming Thyme's name. Right.
Yeah.
And that almost like infuriates him more. Cause he's like, don't you guys see that like I'm not the one at fault here? Like, don't you guys see like Ren is the bad guy? And that just really fuels Thyme, and he doesn't care. Like, and also this part at the very end, right before she gets involved, right before Gorya gets involved, and it's the last gif I have on the slide, is when they got each other in that grip. This looks real. Like they did this so well, and it's very, you know, a lot of the versions when they do this kind of conflict between them two, you just get like a punch and then they don't really grapple like this.
No, they're wrestling. They're genuinely serious. Yeah. And it feels impactful.
It feels impactful. And
it feels like he might actually hurt him. One of them might actually get severely hurt. And I think that's why it feels like Gorya stepping in feels like the right choice.
Yes. But they're raising the stakes to the point, like, you know, what I said earlier, remember about like fighting with chemistry.
Yeah.
This feels like they're fighting with chemistry. This feels like two best friends who are fighting over a girl.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what it's supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel like they're fighting over Gorya, even though, you know, Mira's right there, but they're also fighting over Mira. So you have the stakes raised to this part where I don't think I've never seen them do this in any of the other versions.
And they've never combined like the women's, like it's directionally, the women are going in the same direction. Like they're like, self-worth is important. That's literally what they're saying. Like both of them are like, self-worth is important and who I want to be is the most important thing.
Yes. And
Ren is defending the right for both of them to be who they want to be. And Thyme is like, no, you have to be what I say you are.
Yeah.
And that's like the conflict.
Thyme is like the only one of the F4 that's like refusing this change. He's like, he's still stuck in like what they typically do. And that is typical for the other versions, but this one is really driving it home. And it makes you kind of sympathize with Thyme so much more because you're like, he's so alone, you know, he's like, he's alone in his frustration and he doesn't understand why everyone is giving in to Gorya, but without realizing he's already given in to Gorya.
Well, it's because this is his denial of the call from a hero's journey perspective.
Yeah.
Because he has his threshold guardian mother, a parent, a threshold guardian, standing in the way of him actually transforming and going on his journey. And one of the first steps that usually happens once you actually go through the threshold, which is what he's about to go through, is meeting the goddess and confronting the feminine and understanding that was missing in your life.
Exactly. I'm really curious to see kind of the spark when it happens for him, because for other versions of the hero, he does begin his hero's journey, I think, a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But this version, he's still stuck in this repetitiveness, in the real world from a hero's journey point of view. So when he steps over that threshold into kind of this other world and like what could be and what he can be and his potential, when that moment comes, I think that's when we're going to start getting into what that is and what that means and how that's going to be different from Gorya's journey, which Gorya is on a heroine's journey. And these are just slightly different. So yeah, we'll cover that when it comes. So this all leads up to what the episode is calling the second impact of what is the meteor, the footprint of meteor, whatever.
I mean, she's on top of him again.
Yeah. And this is what you were saying earlier, which was that the only change in the terms of the conflict leading up to the kiss and the kiss, it's from the 2005 version, is the fact that she is on top.
Yeah.
So,
and it was a purposeful choice because they have him in the first episode underneath her, and it's aggressive and it's like this, like, I'm not putting up with this any longer. And instead it's this kiss, which unintentionally, and it's even like she's not even like holding on to him or anything, she's gently touching him and kissing him accidentally. But like the realization is just so good.
It's really, really well done here. I'm kind of, so the part I really, really am obsessed with this GIF and with this like image is that you can see him breathing towards the end of that. You can see him like breathing and his chest kind of falls up and down just slightly.
Oh, in the kiss?
Yeah. Yes, in the kiss.
And he's just awakened.
Yes.
It's like Sleeping Beauty. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Like kisses cancel curses, etc. Right. This is what pushes him into his journey through the threshold.
Yes.
This is the thing that awakens him. Yeah.
And obviously, like, we'll know better for the next episode, but yeah, like and his reaction to it is like not mad, but he's also like, he, in all the other versions, he has like this kind of like pompous behavior, like, she just kissed me, oh my god, she just kissed me, like, and he's happy about it, but he's also like, do you want to kiss again? Like, in the Meteor Garden 2001 version, he kind of chases after her and he's like, this is very romantic, don't you think? And she's terrified. But this version is not doing that.
No.
And in fact, he runs away, which is the next. Oh, actually, I forgot I put this in here. So for the kiss itself, we did another quadrant chart.
Yeah.
Of which time this time for the kiss. All right. So.
And it goes angry, child, sweet, smitten, child. Yeah.
Just goes through all of it because honestly
he goes everywhere.
Yeah, he goes through all the emotions.
You see all of his reactions, and even though his hand is covering his face, he smiles.
Yeah, he does.
And I can't wait till we actually see a genuine smile from this actor as this character. Like it will seriously light up the screen. Like, it will be awesome. Yeah, and he giggles. He smiles and he giggles. It's so good. And he's like, you just kissed me, and there's the meh goat sound. Like, wait a second, that was an accident. Like, don't you realize? Like, and then
Oh,
everyone's like commentary, like, was that Thyme's first kiss? Oh my God, our little boy is growing up.
yes.
And like all of the commentary and like the reaction from MJ and Kevin being the same, where they swear, like
Yeah,
they're like,
they do. They're like,
yeah,
beep.
like bleep. And like that reaction is because subtext and telling us like it is
Yes.
equaled in this moment to say, oh no.
Yeah. I love MJ right here towards the end of the GIF on the left bottom. Like he almost looks like, oh, wait. Like he's like, oh, I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Well, and seduction is his thing, right? Like
yeah,
love, seduction is his power.
yeah.
And he's like, okay, I can get with this. Yeah.
Like a light bulb
MJ's
goes off.
reaction, I'm obsessed with MJ's reaction with him like, oh,
That's what I'm talking about.
oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah. He looks up and he's like, oh, wait, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Whereas Kevin's reaction is like, oh, my girl got power.
Kevin almost saw it coming. Like Kevin was like, yeah, see, he like looks at, the friend and he's like, come on, your friend is cooler than I thought. Like, he's like, come on, this is a thing. Whereas MJ is like, wait a minute, this totally makes sense. And this could be really cool.
And how it plays out is that Gorya's look on her face almost looks like she didn't realize she had the power to love, and that was a power. Femininity is a power. Like it's very interesting how this all plays out because of the change of positioning, because of the change of like
what they're wearing, and the setting that they're in. Like this was supposed to be her Cinderella moment, and this was not what she thought it was going to be at all. So now it's like, is she Cinderella or is she kissing, like said, like a Sleeping Beauty type of situation, or like a Beauty and the Beast situation?
Is she the prince saving the day?
Yeah. And so this is not what she expected, but she's not, she's not immediately horrified, but she is scared. She's like, this was not what I wanted, and this is not who I would have wanted this experience to be with. But that's why it's so important. And she built it up to be so important with the talk of kisses and all of that at the beginning. So I put in one more slide just for fun, because this is an iconic Hana Yori Dango moment. And as you can see on the far left is the manga, and the anime basically had like the exact same art. Obviously, that's their kiss in the shadow. So he is in shadow where she is highlighted there.
He was also going through a hair transformation at the time, which didn't happen in this version.
Yeah,
and I'm sad about it.
Me too.
I'm a little sad we didn't get straight haired guy.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's fine. He's not there yet, though. He's not there yet. Like, again, in the previous versions, he was like starting to transform.
Yeah.
But in the 2005 version and this one, he still has some more to go. Like he still has some time. He needs to find his way to like this sincerity and to be true to his own feelings. And he's just not there yet. So, and I also included, because you had clipped this.
Yeah, this is from the next episode of Hana Yori Dango. There's the shopkeeper, the candy shopkeeper talks about how horrible it is if your first kiss is stolen from you by somebody you hate most in the world.
It's funny to frame it that way, because in this version, like, I mean,
they stole each other's kiss.
Yeah. So it's like, he didn't intentionally kiss her, and then this version she is on top of him, so it's almost like she took his first kiss, she stole his first kiss, right? So it's flipping the roles a little bit there, which I find adorable.
And even in the previous versions, because of how she reacts after, like the 2018 version and the Taiwanese version and the Korean version,
Mm-hmm.
because she's on top, she still runs away. And so it still feels like she stole the kiss. Whereas this one absolutely does not feel like she stole the kiss. It's such a small but significant change that helps put more agency and control into our female main lead.
Yeah, it is really interesting. A lot of people were calling it out on Twitter. They're like, wait, she's on top. But no one realized, like, in every other version, she's on top, except for the ones where they're standing up. And for the, the 2005 version, which is what this one was playing off of, except for this one little detail. So I don't know. It's interesting. Like the reaction to it for next week's episode, I'm really looking forward to, because there's, in the Japanese version, there's a really cute exchange that happens between the guys in F4 and the male lead, where they're kind of saying, like, that was your first kiss, right? And he's like, no, I've kissed. And they're like, when? With who? And he's like, anyways.
Times when sometime.
And then he like changes the conversation, and they're like, yeah, we all know it's your first kiss. Like, we know you better than that, and it's so cute. But they're making him.
It sort of brought up that conversation, because they don't necessarily need to go into that now.
No.
Because they've already had that commentary that was his first kiss.
Yeah. So it should make it interesting where they decide to pick it up. Because the last episode, they picked it up this episode, like right from the last one. Sort of. I mean, artistically so. So I don't know.
It's really interesting, because they're ending the episodes, at least so far, on these sort of vergent impact moments, right? Where they have decided to converge and then diverge.
Yes.
And that seems to be like, that's where they're ending the episodes. And it's either they left us kind of hanging last episode, where the first episode, where they were like, oh, they're in this vergence, they're together.
Yeah.
And this next episode, they've said, oh, they're in this vergence and he left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so interesting.
He confronted the feminine and was scared.
Yeah.
He saw the full impact of her power and was scared, much like many men on the internet.
Totally. I love it. I love that, the first episode was the footprint of meteor, and they ended with footprint of meteor. They told you, hey, this is what this is. Like, the name might be a little weird, a little symbolic, but then at the very end, they show you, this is what we mean when we said this. And the second episode is doing the exact same thing. They say, this is what this episode is called, the second impact. And at the very end of the episode, you find out what the second impact is. And it's the kiss. And that is so cool from a storytelling perspective, because it means that every episode, we're not just telling this full story. Every episode is going to mean something for the larger picture. It's going to be kind of like this contained part of the story. So very much looking forward to that.
I do want to shout out to our good friend Kitsune Goya, who pointed out that our good seducer Kevin is wearing a Maison Kitsune jacket and sweater, which is a French company that makes like kitsune or nine-tailed foxes outfits, and he's wearing a sweater that has a fox on it. And traditionally in Asian cultures, those are the masters of seduction, right?
Brilliant.
So absolutely, he's wearing both the sweater, the Maison Kitsune, and it like house of seduction basically is what he's wearing, from a sweater and from a jacket perspective when they pick up Mira from the airport. It's gorgeous.
I love it. Yeah, and that's when they hit on the flight attendants. That's hilarious.
Yes.
I love it. Cool. All right. I believe that's it. Did we cover everything we wanted to cover?
Yes.
Yeah, and more.
And more.
And more, as usual. Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this. Please let us know in the comments your feelings about this one, or if you caught anything that we didn't, like, let us know any kind of cool stuff and like the costuming or the hair or whatever you find interesting, because everyone has different things, whether it's like the characters or, we have a friend who is obsessed, Drama Lindy. She's obsessed with the costuming in Meteor Garden 2018. And she has a whole Instagram account dedicated to the symbolism behind that. And so if you're interested in that, she goes by Drama Lindy on Instagram and on Twitter. And so like if you have any of those niche interests in this story, please let us know in the comments and let us know what you thought about the episode, because we loved it and it was so cool. And it made me so happy. I'm probably going to watch it again today for like a fourth, fifth time.
Exactly.
And yeah. So MC, let us know where they can find you online so we can continue these conversations there as well.
Yeah, so I'm known for metamythical analysis, and I have a Star Wars show called What the Force. You can find it on YouTube under What the Force or on any podcast catcher that you find. And I also have a sister channel, and also where this pod is available. If you're only looking for the audio version of this, you're like, I really want to listen to it again after it's been released on YouTube again. You can listen to it on What the Fiction, which you can also find on anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Marie C. Gould, or What the Fiction is WT Force Media, or What the Force is WT Force Show on Twitter.
Awesome.
Feel free to tweet at us. We will talk with you about this. There is not enough talk yet.
That I agree. There's not enough talk. Or it's like it's in Thai, and I'm like, I can't read Thai. I can't converse all the time. We can try. We can definitely try. It's difficult. So yeah, if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me on my personal at black_TYM. But you can also find me under my channel name at wit_folly. I'm doing most of my conversation under that name about this show, because it helps that everything's kind of in one place, especially with how I'm posting the episodes for this. So yeah, please converse with us and friend us over there, and let us know again in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video so other people can find the show and so we can grow this community. All right. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Cheers.